The 2026 WNBA Draft is in the books. A lot of action, a lot to talk about. We are going to talk about it. Welcome back to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. I live blogged the draft. If you're interested on what my instant reactions were and everything I was dealing with as I was watching the draft, head over to brandonsilvers.com. I will put a link in the show notes to make it extra easy for you. But yeah, so this was the first year in a while we did not have a consensus number one overall pick. A lot of rumors about which direction the Wings were going to go. They had the number one overall pick for the second year in a row. That has typically ended pretty well for franchises who have had that. I believe that has happened. Let me check this out. That's happened 5 times. A franchise has held the number one overall pick in back-to-back years. 3 of those franchises ended up winning a title almost as a direct result of those number one overall picks. The Fever are the 4th. They seem headed down a title path. And now we've got the Wings, who drafted Paige Bueckers number one overall last season. She was Rookie of the Year, incredible rookie season. They reunited her with her former UConn teammate, who she won a national title with in 2025. Rumored girlfriend, seems pretty confirmed, girlfriend Azzi Fudd. This seemed to be heading towards Azzi going number one when Dallas signed every big that Minnesota has ever had. But no, in free agency, they picked up Jessica Shepard and Alana Smith. They have Lee Yeru there as well. A lot of bigs. The other rumored number one overall picks were bigs in Awa Pham Thiam and Lauren Betts. Then you had the Olivia Miles up there too, but she's a point guard, kind of a lot of overlap there with Paige. So let's go ahead and pull up the old draft board for ESPN. Give them a little bit of publicity. I know they need it. So yeah, the pick is Fudd. Incredible shooter. We know that. 3-point shooting is what's talked about a lot, but I would say that she is underrated in the mid-range. Felt like in the national championship game against South Carolina last season, she was just tearing them up from 2. I don't even think she hit that many threes. She is a more than capable perimeter defender. You've got the injury concern, but she's been healthy the past 2 seasons, so maybe those are behind her. The concern I have that feels very unique to the WNBA is, in addition to the pressure you have on you, just naturally being the number one overall pick, the parasocial pressure from the Paige Bueckers fans who wanted Azzi to be the number one overall pick for non-basketball reasons, simply because she is with Paige. How does that look when or if she struggles? Because, I mean, this is the hardest league to be a rookie in. They just got done with the NCAA tournament. Preseason starts in barely 2 weeks, and then you're thrown into the fire. You're very rare to have a rookie season like Paige had. And even like right out the gates, we saw Caitlin Clark struggle. Like, very hard to be a rookie in this league. So not only her struggles, what will that mean for the other side of that parasocial crowd, the ones who think that she only got drafted because Dallas wanted to make Paige happy? Then they're going to be able to point and say, hey, you made the wrong pick, whatever. But then, like, what happens if she breaks up with Paige? Then how does that look from these Paige Becker superfans. It's just an interesting wrinkle, something that sticks out in my mind because I just can't. I can wrap my head around a lot of things. I can't wrap my head around parasocial relationships. I already feel like I struggle to maintain real life relationships because life is busy and I'm constantly wondering if I'm a good friend or not. I can't imagine putting that amount of effort into a relationship with a person who does not know that I exist. That seems insane to me. Immediately right off the bat, I believe Azzi is going to be able to spread the floor. Obviously has a great rapport with Paige. It is interesting that Dallas re-signed Arike Ogunbowale. There's some positional overlap there. But again, I think the plan is for Azzi to come off the bench. Oddly enough, I think that Arike would be a great scoring option off the bench. But you don't pay someone that much money to be your sixth woman. That's just not how that happens. So they're definitely going to start her for that kind of money. And we will wait for the season preview to talk about what I think the Wings are doing and what they've done this offseason, because I do want to see kind of how it looks in the preseason. But I think a worthy number one overall pick. I clearly drafted because she's a great player, more so than her relationship with Paige. I want to be very clear on that. And yeah, I don't know if you could have gone wrong really with any of these players that were mentioned. But Dallas made their pick. And number 2 overall, Olivia Miles out of TCU. If you can see in that little thumbnail there, her afro was unreal. Okay? It was a thing of beauty. Clearly something that I'll stop sharing the screen for a moment. Something that I know very little about and I'm incredibly envious of. We'll put it back on the draft board. Olivia bet on herself because she could have turned pro last season. Not only did not stay at Notre Dame, but transferred to TCU and had a great season. Really progressed, particularly over the course of her career as a three-point shooter. Let's pull up her college stats. So as you can see, she didn't play that much as a true freshman, but her freshman year, sophomore year at Notre Dame, 27% from 3, 23% from 3, shooting 3 to 4 3-point attempts per game. These past 2 seasons, 41% on 5 attempts, 5.5 attempts, 35% at TCU, much more of the focal point of the offense without a Hannah Hidalgo to take some of that defensive pressure off of her, although there was a lot of talent at TCU. Mark Campbell was collecting a lot of portal talent and really filled out her entire game. Turnovers a little bit high, but triple-double threat, 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals. I really do like this pick for the Lynx. I think that they just lost Natisha Heidemann, so they need a backup point guard for Courtney Williams. And I think long-term, if you can move Courtney Williams back to her natural kind of combo guard spot and have Olivia take the reins at point, because that's really what's tripped them up in bigger moments, is Courtney is probably the best she's pulled off the transition from two guard to point guard as good as anyone's going to do it, because that's a very hard transition to make. People underestimate how hard of a transition that is to make, because it's one thing to know how to get to your spots and score, but then you have to know as a point guard how to get to your spots and score, when to get to your spots and score, where everyone else, their spots are, where they like to score from, how to run the offense. You got to know so much more as a point guard. And a lot of it is feel. And that's something that Olivia has. And she's a natural point guard. They're going to have to work with her defensively. I'm interested to see how the Lynx look defensively after losing co-defensive player of the year, Alana Smith, along with some other pieces. And we'll see how Fee is looking too. But they do always seem to pull it together defensively, no matter the pieces they have. So that's going to be good for someone like Olivia, who isn't very strong on that end of the court yet. So I like that pick. As you can see, ESPN had her ranked number 1 overall with a 100 grade. So they liked her. I'm guessing they think that this was very good value for the Lynx at number 2. And this was one of those picks that the Sky traded. I've kind of grown out of thinking I could be a professional general manager, but sometimes some of these teams, I'm like, you know what? I might be able to pull it off. I might. But I do like this pick. I'm interested to see how much they give her the reins early on, and what it looks like when she's beside Courtney Williams on the court. So 3rd overall pick, Awa Pham Thiam. Now they were just calling her Awa Pham for the longest time. The Thiam came on late. The first time I heard it was last night. The fact that the 2 last names rhyme, I'm already a fan. 19-year-old out of Spain. We don't get that much access to European footage, but by all accounts, a great player, young, 6'4", athletic. That's pretty much what the Storm are putting together, right? Like, she was rumored to be the number 1 overall pick, fell to 3. They've got her, Ezi Magbagor, and Dominique Malanga. I don't know really how other teams are going to score in the paint against them. Good luck. Let's see what Charlie was saying about her before the draft. Spanish national team, energy, size, skill set, indicates a future star, and can improve perimeter shooting. Everyone who's 6'4" can. Appears ready to excel in the pick and roll game and defensively. And this is why, if I had the number 1 overall pick, unless the guard has to be such a standout, because it's so hard to find height that is highly skilled, I would have probably picked Awa Pham Thiam number 1 overall. I understand that Dallas has put together, they brought in a lot of size this offseason. I get it. I probably would have done that. And I guess the Storm agree as well, because again, like I said, they've got Magbagor and Malanga, and they picked Thiam anyways. So that's quite the lineup you can roll out there. Especially, I feel like she can play some 4 too. I feel like all 3 of them you could pair 2 of them on the court at the same time. So that's going to be impressive. The other player who I would have considered at number 1 overall, national champion Lauren Betts. This is the UCLA portion of the program, because 3 Bruins were picked in a row. Betts going to the Mystics. I don't know what more you can say about her. We just saw The run that she led UCLA on to win their first NCAA title, 6'7". I always say for bigs, height can be the advantage or an advantage, where you see a lot of bigs. The only reason they're really good is because they're taller than everyone else. Lauren Betts is taller than everyone else, but she's also highly skilled, great footwork in the post, knows how to use her body and establish position in the post. Good athlete for her size. Against Texas, when she ran the floor to block Madison Booker's shot, and Texas could have tied the game or brought it to within one on that one. That's perfect. At worst, I think the Mystics have a player who is going to rebound and defend. And you need a big who can do that in a league with so many great bigs. So I like this pick. She'll be there with Shakira Austin, Kiki Iriafen, and Sonia Citron. Washington made a lot of picks. So we're not going to cover them all because good Lord. But they made a lot of picks. This was their best pick by far. Then, number 5, the Sky, who I will be running the show for them pretty soon, selected UCLA Gabriela Jaquez. This was funny to me because they traded their first round pick last year to the Mystics for Ariel Atkins, who they just flipped for Rakia Jackson to the Sparks. If they kept that pick last year, Washington with that pick selected Sonia Citron. A lot of people had Citron going to Chicago. Citron reminds me a lot of Jaquez. They remind me of each other. Elite role players in college. Interested to see if Citron expanded on her game in the pros, kind of showed that she had more in the bag than we saw at Notre Dame. Curious to see if that's the case for Jaquez. She had a hell of a tournament run. I don't think she was drafted because of the tournament run. She's been a solid player there for a while, but I know someone mentioned that on the broadcast, and I was like, you should not be making draft picks based off of one tournament run. Lengthy, good perimeter defender, should be able to defend immediately. Let's check out some more of her college stats because she can knock down the three a little bit, just does a little bit of everything. So yeah, not a lot of volume, but 39% from three on 3 attempts a game, 13.5 points, 54% from the field. That's incredible. And yeah, just does a little bit of everything. So I like this pick. I think it probably would have been better if they just drafted Citron last season. But this is just kind of what the Sky do. Okay, they're known for it. And then first ever draft pick in Toronto Tempo franchise history, UCLA, Kiki Rice. This was interesting because she had a much improved senior season. She was, matter of fact, let's pull this up. Okay, you can see not so much 15 points a game, great, but really the efficiency for me and the 3-point shooting was better. Low volume, but it was better. 49% from the field, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. So the thing with Kiki Rice, and she was a high recruit too. I forget what it was. The thing with Kiki Rice, it says right here, point guard. I don't think she is a point guard. Anytime I've seen her exclusively play point guard, there's been these little hiccups, and she feels more like a combo guard to me, which, even if that's the case, I think she can still carve out a perfectly fine WNBA career, but just doesn't seem like a point guard to me. And I don't think it's a coincidence that her best season, her most efficient season offensively, was beside Charlize Leisure-Walker, who is more of a traditional point guard. I think that, when you see she had her fewest turnovers per game since she was a freshman. Well, let's see, 1.6 turnovers per game as a freshman, 1.7 as a senior, but played more minutes as a senior. Best shooting percentages. I wonder how much of that was playing beside a true point guard. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you're Toronto, something to keep in mind. I don't expect her to start from the jump anyways. There's going to be a development process. But I see her more as your third guard than as a point guard. The Portland Fire, they were talking about the Portland Fire, this being their first draft pick ever, but we did have a Portland Fire franchise at one time. So to me, it's their first draft pick in a couple of decades. They drafted, I'm going to mispronounce her name, but I think Ayana Martin Carrion out of Spain, 5'9" point guard. Again, I don't know much about any of the European players. They were speaking very highly of her. Charlie Cream, says that she will eventually grow into a WNBA starter. 20 years old, exceptional court vision, excels in the pick and roll, and delivers the right pass. So that's my analysis. Charlie Cream. This is where things got interesting. Number 8, Flau'jae Johnson, drafted by Golden State. But then she was traded to Seattle for second-round pick Marta Suarez out of TCU and a future second-round pick. And this was probably agreed to before the draft, where Seattle was like, hey, draft Flau'jae. If Suarez is there, we'll draft her, and that'll be the trade. But seemed to be questionable value to trade essentially 2 second-round picks for the 8th overall pick. I did not really understand that. Maybe it's not for me to understand. Again, I'm focused on the Chicago Sky job. I don't know. The good with Flau'jae. Great defender. Good motor. Offensively, in the half court, that is where my questions lie. In transition, when LSU was running it up against Trident Technical College, she's great. When she gets out and run, when she can get out and run, she's fantastic. Half court offense, the 3-point shot, the jump shot in general just isn't consistent enough at this point. Can't really beat people off the dribble well enough to create in the half court. I'm always leery of these types of skills when it comes to LSU pros. I think if you're coming from LSU and you want to make an impact, then you've got to be able to impact the game with your effort and defensively. And we've seen that with Angel Reese, because I just don't think what Kim's doing is trying to develop WNBA players. I think she's trying to develop players who can give her the best chance to win a national championship, which Flau'jae did as a freshman. But I don't think that's Kim's focus, which is Kim's right. It's her program. But I think that's why we've seen so many names from LSU struggle when they get here. And not just from LSU under Kim, struggle when they get to the W. So Angel's done it. I think Flau'jae can do it because she does really try hard defensively. I don't know about her athleticism. Mostly she's a heavy runner, I guess. She runs like she's wearing lug boots. And I find the more athletic players, they don't look like they're running heavy. They look like they're just kind of floating. And so I wonder about her athleticism. She's 5'10". I wonder about that half-court offense a great deal. Defensively, I think she's going to be good. She'll mix it up and rebound. Let me find the quote. We'll pull up Flau'jae's college stats too. I want to find the quote from the Golden State GM. So there you can see, like the 3-pointer was fine, like 38%, 39%. It was fine, but it does, like, you have to guard her. You cannot leave her open on the perimeter. It's when she would try to create 3-pointers off the dribble that I think she would lose me. Let's see if I can find the Valkyries GM had an interesting quote about the trade. Okay. One headline said that the trade was agreed to before the Flau'jae selection. All right. Here's the quote from the Golden State GM. I think I'm going to take a beat to be able to eloquently give a response. I don't have a lot of detail to share. 1, because I'm exhausted. 2, because I want to be very thoughtful when I'm talking about other humans and their basketball abilities and how they would or would not show up for our squad. I feel like if she had just stopped after that first part where she said she was exhausted, we would be good. But this second part where she talks about how they would or would not show up for our squad led to a lot of speculation about what this had to do with Flau'jae. Has very famously pursued a rap career, has a rap career, wants to win a Grammy. She was talking about it with Holly Rowe as Holly Rowe was giving her hip hop takes, unfortunately. So that part left open that door that you don't even need just a crack for people to start speculating. And I think now, knowing too for sure that it was agreed to before the Flau'jae pick, I don't think it played a role in anything, but you do have to know what you're saying and who you're talking about. Like, because now we've got to answer more questions about it. Like, well, was it Flau'jae's rapping that scared you off, this, that, the other? I don't think it did, because I don't know why you would draft her in the first place, because this is not a secret. But just the way it was worded, let's just get a little more work on that. All right. Number 9. Would you believe it? The Mystics are back. Would you believe it? A UCLA player was selected, Angela Dugalich. She reminds me of someone they just lost in the expansion draft, Emily Inksler. Big, 6'4", tough, can can defend a couple of positions. A lot is made of her three-point shooting. I find that to be slightly overrated. Her shot does look good, but if we pull up her actual stats, this tab instead. Freshman at Oregon, 24%, whatever. Past couple years at UCLA, 31%, 35%, 33%. For someone to really be a floor stretcher, to me, you do have to guard her on the perimeter. Great player, talented, Big Ten, sixth player of the year. But 36+% from three on much higher volume than this, 2 attempts per game. To me, that's a three-point shooter. This is just somebody who shoots threes. But again, there's something there with her shot where it could continue to progress, where she is a true stretch for a lot of size, rebounds well. Just kind of an interesting pick to me. More of a project, and you get a little concerned because these players, they're all going to school 4 and 5 years. So how much is there left to develop? Speaking of players who have been, we're very familiar with because they went to school for a long time and we always saw them on TV. Raven Johnson, 10 to the Indiana Fever. Obviously, the talk is about her being paired with Caitlin Clark. Clark famously waved her off at the perimeter, daring her to shoot open threes in a game in which she was knocking down threes. Probably didn't shoot enough of them in the Final Four. Next year, Raven's Revenge Tour. She talked about how much that moment affected her and the talk on social media about it. She led the Gamecocks to a national championship victory against Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Also will be reuniting her with Aaliyah Boston. I've watched a lot of South Carolina basketball, which means I've watched a lot of Raven Johnson, who has played, as you can see, 154 games at South Carolina. Hold on, let me share this. Boom, 154 games. So the jump shot critiques were fair to a degree. I think it was overblown because especially that game, like I said, she was knocking threes down. But her shot from three, it was flat. And I also think that all that talk about it got into her head a little bit too. But this season, it had a little more arc to it, looked a little smoother. 2.5 attempts per game. She hit 40% from three. If you would have told me after that Iowa game, or even, the national championship year, she hit 35% from three. If you would have told me she was going to hit 40% from three, I never would have believed you. Even more impressive from two. She never shot above 48% until this last season. She was 53% from two, and her free throw percentage went from 65, 61, 68 to 82%. Much improved offensive efficiency, and she was much more aggressive in looking for her own offense than she has been up to this point. That would be the thing that would drive me crazy watching her. Great point guard, great playmaker, can run the offense, but would limit the offense at times because she would pass up good shots for herself to try to find something else for someone else. You are rarely at that level going to get more than one opportunity for a good shot per possession. When you get the good shot, you have to take the good shot. And then if nothing's happening offensively, you've got to make something happen. She did that a lot more this year and also showed off some skill in which, with her wingspan, we knew she could defend point guards, got much more time defending outside of her position and proved she could do it. I would probably trust her to defend some threes. So 1 through 3, you can expect her to defend. I do think it's interesting she's going to Indiana because, again, she is a point guard. They famously have Caitlin Clark at point guard. I don't know how much time she is going to get. That could be fine because it kind of allows her to continue to develop. I know Indiana's coach, Stephanie White, has talked very highly about her. Just personally, I wish she wasn't in Indiana. So, number 11, another Mystics pick, Cody McMahon. She started her career at Ohio State, transferred last season to Ole Miss to play for Coach Yo. Played some point guard as well. I think Andrea Carter and Rebecca Lobo both talked about how they how she reminded them of Alyssa Thomas, which made me pay attention because I respect their opinions. I don't know if I quite saw Alyssa Thomas. Cody, very physical player. Again, did run point at Ole Miss. Hard to gauge how good of a point guard you are at Ole Miss because that offense was as good as it's been under Coach Yo, but still would just hit these droughts in the middle of games. I mean, I'm thinking back to they had LSU at home and then just did not score. It felt like they didn't score the whole second half, but it was just like this huge drought to let LSU get back in the game and win. Stuff like that doesn't happen with Alyssa Thomas. I remember writing about last night her assist percentage, which is the amount of field goals she assisted on while she was on the court, nearly doubled last season and put her within the ballpark, you could say, of Alyssa Thomas's numbers when she was at Maryland. Because she was not averaging a triple-double at Maryland. I mean, I don't even think her assist numbers would really have wowed you. So, yeah. She had her junior year, she got up to 5 assists, but yeah, 3 assists, 4 assists, nothing jumping off the page like they do now. Because I don't know if she really operated in that position at Maryland, and there wasn't a ton of Maryland women's basketball on that I was watching, at least during that time. So we compare that to Cody's year last year. 3 assists per game. Doesn't really jump off the page at you. I get the physical build, the way she plays. I still think she's a little small. I still think, even though Alyssa Thomas can't do it because she doesn't have shoulders, I think Cody is going to need to develop her jump shot. I don't know how much her scoring arsenal has developed from her freshman season at Ohio State. An interesting pick for me by the Mystics here, but great motor. Is going to figure out how to score in the post at times, but I think will struggle a little bit since she's just 6 feet. 12th pick, the Connecticut Sun in their last season in Connecticut picked Nell Angloma from France, another player who I don't know, but was the 7th ranked player overall according to ESPN. Doesn't turn 20 until June. They say she's physically ready. That's her best work in the lane. Creative finisher at the rim. I mean, it kind of seems like Connecticut is going all in on the youth movement. They're sprinkling in some vets with Brittany Griner and everything, but this is a rebuild. Seems to fit with that timeline, so probably a solid pick. Atlanta. Medina Okot just came down, I believe the end of last week, that her request for additional eligibility was denied by the NCAA because they don't make a ton of sense. So she makes her way to the WNBA draft. It works out fine. Drafted 13th overall by Atlanta, who just lost Brittany Griner to Connecticut. So they need some height there. Very raw player. I don't think she started playing till mid to late teens. Had the year at Mississippi State, then last year at South Carolina, where she showed a lot of skill as a rebounder at times and a shot blocker. Still incredibly raw. Still needs to develop more. 13 and 10, 11 last year at South Carolina. You could see her at times shrink because if you just started playing basketball less than a decade ago, and then we stick you in the Final Four against Connecticut in the national championship game against Lauren Betts, take you to LSU and have you play in front of all those people, that could be a lot. And it was for her at times. She did not really play with a ton of confidence. You can see some skill stuff that does need to be cleaned up. She did improve. You could see the improvement, but there's still a ways to go. The most intriguing thing, we know Carl Smesko loves the three-point shot. She showed an ability to knock down threes. She has a nice looking jump shot. She just doesn't shoot it with a lot of confidence all the time, but something is there for him to work with. And I want to see what that looks like. So overall, I like the pick. I think she fits in with what they're doing there, and very curious to see what it looks like 3 to 5 years down the road. 14. Seattle picked Tiana Mayer from Duke. This was interesting to me. I thought it was a reach. If you pay attention to these draft rankings, she was the 30th ranked player overall. I just did not see a lot from her in the games that I watched. Duke started her career at Boston College, transferred after her freshman season. Never was an efficient offensive player, in my opinion. Could get to the rim at times and showed a little bit more. I mean, she was a lot more aggressive this past season, looking to score her on her own. I would not say she is a great finisher. Probably an average 3-point shooter. Solid, slightly above average playmaker. And I feel like if you play at Duke, you're going to defend well. I guess I just did not really see the vision with this one. This felt like a bit of a reach to me. Let's jump ahead and see who else could they have picked. So if you're looking for a point guard, I would have Charlize Ledger-Walker from UCLA ahead of her. I might even give it a go with Taniyah Latson. I mean, we were running thin here with point guards. The big one that eventually went in the third round that people were excited to see, Rory Harmon, picked by the Mystics. I don't know. That was just... I don't know if I make that pick, especially there was a lot of talent still on the board. Tania Latson was still there. There was just a lot there where I think you could have gotten a point guard of similar caliber to develop with another pick later in the draft. Did they have another pick? Because I know they had the Suarez draft pick that they traded. So yeah, they had the third round pick with Van Sluten. So I guess they were kind of stuck because Harmon would have been gone by then. I don't know. As far as value is concerned, I could be wrong. I don't mind being wrong. I just did not see it with this pick. Then, to close out the first round, another UCLA Bruin, Gianna Neepkins, goes to Connecticut. And a great three-point shooter. The question is, can she get her shot off fast enough at this level? But, I don't think they drafted her thinking she was going to be crossing people up and pulling up off the dribble. She can, if you run sets for her, as you should, if you draft a shooter, then she'll be able to get shots off and knock them down. Kind of like Marina Mabry is the same way to me. I think she struggles to create her own shot, but they run her through 47 screens. She's in Toronto now, but they run her off 47 screens, and when she gets hot, it's going up and it's going in. So she did show an ability as a junior at Utah to be the number one option on that team and put up almost 20 a game, 5'11 shooting guard. She played her role well at UCLA. I think that this was, again, it falls in line with what Connecticut is really trying to do, where they're just kind of trying to see, like, okay, who's out here? How much youth can we develop in the meantime as we're looking to rebuild? And I think she did showcase some other skills at UCLA, such as her rebounding and a little bit of playmaking, secondary playmaking. Don't make her a point guard, but, there's something there. As far as some other picks that stood out, I mentioned Latson to the Sparks. I think she's going to get a chance to play there. And I'm always concerned when a player is 5'8" as a two guard, but you do get to play with Kelsey Plum and learn some things. And, Plum is a little bit bigger, but anytime you get a chance to learn from, well, she's listed at 5'8". So, she's the prototype for 5'8" scorers. The big thing for Tania, the three-point shot has to come around. That's how Plum does it. She's got at least a consistent enough three-point shot that allows her to get to the rim. That's what's going to have to develop for Tania if she's going to play a major role in this league. Janiah Barker to the Aces. 6'4", power forward, has shown all kind of skills. The issue has kind of been, is she a locker room problem? I don't think you can be a locker room problem in a locker room that has won all of these titles. And you've got Asia Wilson, you got Chelsea Gray, you got Jackie Young, you got Becky Hammond as your coach. I think this is probably the perfect spot for her. So this might be, I'm biased. I love the Aces. If I can't think of another place I would rather see her go to develop. Okay, something's here, and we're going to find out how much potential she has because they're going to get it out of her. And also gives the Aces a little more size, which they always need, it feels like. Third round, Charlize Dunn from Davidson. I believe she would be the first player to play in the WNBA from Davidson ever. And then, of course, Rory Harmon, another Mystics draft pick. Gonna be tough. 5'6", I think, like with Denia Latson, she should study her teammate, Kelsey Plum, to figure out how to make it work. Harmon has got to be Jordan Canada. Okay, she's got to lead with her defense, her unselfishness, her playmaking. And we saw flashes of the jump shot, but that's got to continue to develop. But overall, that was a lot of fun. It was a very fun draft. We got a lot of time to think through everything that's happened. I'm excited to see preseason, how things look. And I will be working on some season previews. Still trying to decide if I'm doing written, yapping, or both. But yeah, this has been another episode of Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. Thank you for watching, listening, rating, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing. I will catch you later.